Jack it up. Jack it up.
order. This morning for our Pledge of Allegiance, we have Phyllis Hensley. She's retiring from the department after 21 years of service. She spent her entire career in the department's payroll section. So Phyllis, we will miss you.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then the invocation is Chaplain Bill Gorman.
I invite you to pray along with me as I say these words. God of justice and peace, we seek your guidance as we gather today. Grant us wisdom to make fair decisions that serve our entire community. Help us to lead with integrity, compassion, and courage. We pray for the safety of our officers and the trust of our citizens. May we understand and build understanding between law enforcement and the community. Give us clarity to address challenges, strength to implement solutions, and empathy to hear all voices. Let our choices promote safety and respect for all. Guide us in upholding the law and protecting our community. May we be worthy of the trust placed in us as we work for the common good.
Do we have Mayor's designee here today? Oh, okay. Is that better? Okay. Do we have a Mayor's designee here with us today? Okay, then I guess we'll go on to Chief Graves.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I don't have a lot of words to say. We have a lot to talk about what the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department has been doing since the last time that we met. But I will say that we've been very busy. Recently, I was out with officers and our community partners in the area of 69th to 70th to Gregory, in that area doing canvases with our Community Engagement Division, with Metro Patrol, and some of our community partners. And the week prior, we had experienced an incident where several people were shot. One was tragically a victim of a homicide. Our detectives obviously are making headway in that investigation. But KCPD this past Sunday, along with city services and some of those other community partners, again walked the corridor this past Sunday just to make sure that we continue that collective problem-solving approach to making that area safer. Our Patrol Bureau has conducted several enforcement activities to stop some of the dangerous street racing that is happening in our city. We're working with City Council, and we will be meeting with legislators in Jeff City to create and or enhance penalties for those who participate or are spectators in these dangerous sideshows. It's important to you, or it's important for me to report to you that KCPD is diligently working on addressing and reducing property crimes in our city. It's been a topic of conversation throughout our city, not only the street racers, but also property crimes that's happening. And while detectives are investigating, arresting, and charging individuals with property crimes, we've also been involved in problem solving with community members, business owners, and also working side by side with City Council. I think it was last week we had a meeting with Crispin Ray, some folks from our downtown council, and our investigations bureau, along with patrol. So all of this to say is that KCPD is aware of the issues that I've just spoke of, and we are actively and diligently working towards solutions and also holding those accountable that are involved in some of this dangerous behavior. In addition to property crimes, our city council has been partnering with KCPD more and more. In August, Kansas City, Missouri Police Department was present at a night out against crime that was hosted by Councilman Rea and Councilman Bunch. And here recently, Councilman Willett provided lunch for, I think it was like up to 200 people at the police academy. So all of that is so well received. And I do want to say thank you so much for those of you on the board that come out and are present at a lot of these events. It really shows our people how they are supported at the highest levels. And also, it's really big when our city council members are investing in making those personal connections with our officers. I can't tell you how far those seemingly small gestures of just being present, it makes a difference. So thank you very much. And that is all I have for my presentation, unless you have any questions for me.
Chief, I did have a question on the property crimes. I know we've had a lot of problems with juveniles involved in those. And I know personally, I've had something happen, where I've known somebody in Westport where there was, I believe, probably some juveniles in the parking lot breaking into cars. And then this person that came out of his apartment complex really early in the morning, and 8 shots were fired at him. And I know, I've been on the jail kick, but I know with juveniles, it seems like this is such a problem with property crimes, and I just don't feel like we're holding these people accountable enough that this keeps happening. And the problem is this could have been a murder. And, everybody in the city doesn't want to put their loved ones or themselves in jeopardy like this. So I don't know if there's anything we can do on the juvenile side to help, in that area.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and I think I've spoken either at this meeting or when I'm out and about in the city about the challenges with some of the juveniles that we have that are involved in violent crimes, specifically some that are armed with firearms, sometimes automatic rifles. And I have said that at the State of the Public Safety for the city a couple weeks ago, maybe that was last month, at the KC Chamber. That is a challenge that we have. But I will say here in the last, was it 2 weeks, we have met with juvenile courts, just that whole part of the criminal justice system to see what we can do to intervene sooner with juveniles, where when you look at some of their arrests where seemingly we could have caught them at maybe a lower offense and course corrected the trajectory of where they're headed. So we are looking at that. We're having conversations to make sure that we provide all information. We do everything that we can under our control to make sure that not only are juveniles held accountable, but also that we are providing the best case file for a successful prosecution. And we are part of the solution, but I think we all know it's going to take a collective. It's just that citywide approach. And so we are staying on that mission and making sure that we're doing everything that we can within our control. And that means meeting with our partners and problem solving. So.
Great. Well, thank you, and I
Sure.
appreciate that, because I
Absolutely.
know it is a problem, and I would much rather see it corrected early before it keeps escalating, and holding these kids accountable and getting them the help they need to straighten them out and getting them on a good road. So,
I agree. Thank you. And Deputy Chief Niemeyer may have more information on that
okay.
that
And
subject.
I did see Councilman Reyes. Come on up. Step in.
Morning.
Morning.
Apologize for my delay. Can you all hear me okay? Microphone seems far away from me. We want to give a few updates on a couple things. Thank you. Great, thank you. Beginning with the Municipal Rehabilitation and Detention Center, last week the Finance Committee of the City Council heard an ordinance to place a renewal of the public safety sales tax on the April ballot. There was some conversation between November and April. However, what we landed on was the April ballot. We held the ordinance for 1 month as we have continued our conversations with Jackson County about purchasing the land to build this facility. Those conversations have been productive. are in the process of getting the land of which we have a legal description of surveyed and appraised, and then can respond back to Jackson County. Our staff have been working with their staff, and we wanted to give ourselves about a month to finish that work up. My hope is that we will come back at the end of September with not only being able to take up that ordinance, but also taking legislative action on purchasing property pursuant to an agreement with Jackson County. It'd have to come before the city council and also the county legislature. And so those are the next steps that we are so close as this conversation has gone on for the entire first year of my term. But that was a substantial step moving this conversation in that direction. And again, that would be a renewal of the public safety sales tax on the April ballot if we can get the land purchased and a couple other questions answered by that time. I'll stop there before I go on to my other topics and ask if there's any questions on that.
Maybe one. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please. I'll wait.
Does the renewal of the tax, is that anticipated to provide the funds to acquire the property only, not to design and build the facility? Are those two separate?
Yeah, so there is a current fund balance that the public safety sales tax has currently generated. The forecast of what it would generate is hundreds of millions of dollars, and so the hope would be that somewhere in there, we are financing the construction of the facility, hopefully fully financing the operations, but we're getting an updated cost estimate on both of those things now that the nature of the facility has changed since 2019. So my general answer is we should be able to rely on the public safety sales tax for all of the above.
Well, that was my question partially as well. So we would just put the land under contract and it would be held until such time the vote was?
My expectation is the agreement would include some kind of contingency clause that if for whatever reason the sales tax didn't pass,
Right.
the land would be released, but this would be a purchase of the property.
How many acres, again, is this site that you're contemplating?
So it's a quadrant of unused property on the current Jackson County side at I-70 and 40 highway. What we've been discussing is about 23 acres, a little over 23 acres. I think what we're actually going to need is going to be around 20 to 21 acres, so we might have a little extra land in there. But the legal description that we have with Jackson County for a quadrant of their property is about 23 acres.
Councilman, refresh our memory. So assuming, of course, the sales tax will be renewed in April, what's the projection on when the facility will be available to be used?
That's a difficult question to answer. I think there are things we could do to expedite the design and construction process, and that was one thing we discussed in committee last week, because you do have a gap. If the tax were to pass in April, it doesn't actually transition over until 2026, and so the funding at that point wouldn't be available. But I do think there are some creative things we could do on the design and build side, as well as on how the bonds are being structured. And so I can't give you an exact groundbreaking date at this point, but
I would think we're shooting for, so I'm looking for a high level, 2026, fourth quarter, third quarter. I would think we're shooting for a specific time frame.
We are, but I think there are too many variables right now that I don't want to speak into existence and, create an expectation for folks that for whatever reason we don't rely on. I mean, we got to get it passed. I mean, we're looking at a couple years still, I think, given the design and when we would, break ground. I would look to Jackson County with how long their construction process has taken as an example, and I can't recall when their opening date is, but I'm not going to give a date or quarter just yet.
We look forward to, as you nail that down, knowing around when that would be, as we move forward in that process.
And what I'm sensing in the question, because it comes up a lot, is a sense of urgency, and it's a sense of urgency we certainly share. And that was a hot topic we discussed in committee last week, and we pressed our director of finance on how we could, on our end, and in light of how the tax will be renewed and when it will actually take effect, structure our end of things so that bonds are being issued. And we're doing some research into that, and so I don't want to get ahead of myself with anything I might say today.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Reyes, I would like to thank you too on that part of it, because I know you've been working extra hard, and we all know we've needed this for a long time, so appreciate you taking that effort to really head this up and work hard for us, so thank you.
Yeah, and a couple other things that I'll include in my, thank you for that, that I'll include in my update. You might have had some conversations with the mayor about the renovation of the 8th floor or with the chief. This would be for intake bed space for folks who are picked up. It's currently space that we also don't have in a great quantity right now. I think we're waiting on the final cost estimate and report on that. From what I understand, and that should be completed this week. I think a date this week is what I was told, and so I don't know any details beyond that other than some preliminary figures, but I do believe that is moving in a quicker, at a quicker pace. That was part of our conversation in our committee last week as well, knowing that the rehabilitation and detention center conversation is a longer term solution. This was a focus of conversation as being a more quicker pressure relief valve, and so I do know that that's moving forward, and I think we should be getting that report this week.
Who would manage that facility on the 8th? Who would manage that facility on the 8th floor?
I believe it would be KCPD.
It would be it would be our detention services that currently operate out of Metro Patrol Division. And Metro Patrol, how many, I don't want to put you on the spot, Joe, but there isn't a whole lot of room there. So sometimes like when Metro Patrol is full, a tone goes out that will only accept state arrests or domestic violence arrests, city charges. And so when that happens, like we literally don't have somewhere to put someone. So this would be a bit of a bridge is what I'd like to call it. A little bit, we would have more space on the 8th floor to accommodate arrests should somebody need to be taken into custody and actually held somewhere, like a.
So, Chief Graves, would that then take additional resources to manage the facility on the 8th floor, or we have that built in already?
We should have that built in already with our detention staff that we have at Metro Patrol Division. We do have a couple openings. That is something that we're seemingly constantly hiring for. The Municipal Rehabilitation and Detention Center would be, now that would be managed by the city. But the 8th floor would be managed by KCPD. And that would be a really good help for us.
So then if we're managing it, then if something goes awry, then we're responsible from a liability perspective too.
Yes.
Not the city, or I'm just trying to clarify.
How all that shakes out in the end is probably worked out beyond me. But as far as, managing our employees and any type of incident that happens in that facility, that would be on us. I'm looking at our Office of General Counsel over here.
Yes, that would be on us. As the chief has said, I'd anticipate that liability would be similar to the liability that we already have operating the facility at Metro Patrol.
And basically, it's just, we are just a booking holding facility, not a, if someone goes to city court and is sent to jail for 180 days or whatever that situation is. That is just a holding facility, so we can at least hold people until they bond out or go to court the next day. Thank you. But that would be a great help.
Just one clarification, the 8th floor renovation would be independent of the sales tax renewal and extension?
Independent of the renewal, but not necessarily of the current surplus that is in the public safety sales tax reserve.
So, Councilman Rea, just to back up, if the sales tax renewal is approved in April of '25, then we would use then the next 18 months, give or take, to design the new jail? And do all the things that you need to do so that when January 1 hits, we've got a shovel in the ground? Is that?
Yeah, I think it would depend on which process we chose. You know, if we are able to find a way to secure either through bonds or however this would be structured, funding to move quicker than that, then you could do, you know, some creative you know, construction process. And I'm not a construction expert, but, you know, when you're talking design build versus different other
Right.
options.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I think the goal would be whatever, you know, we can move most quickly with. And I just don't know what that would be at this point. But at a bare minimum, yes, if we have this period of time between when the tax passes and when the tax, you know, flips over to the new period, we would be using that time in preparation for either the design or construction or doing those things of this facility.
So there's money to do that, those pre-construction activities in the kitty right now?
It'll depend on how the sales tax performs in the next year to year and a half to 2 years. We have a current surplus that is available for the 8th floor project. I think the forecast for that sales tax is fairly positive. It has generated and outperformed projections. And so if I'm being vague, it's because I don't know the concrete answer to that question. But I think generally, yes, there should be some.
You don't want to stick your
funds
neck
available.
out. Nobody wants to stick their neck out a little bit on timeline. So I understand where you're it just, anyway. We're feeling a lot from the community right now, and I know you do as well in your district. And I think we're all aligned here. And I'm just trying to get a sense with a little more definition without getting into the weeds on a timeline of when we can go.
Yeah, and I think what we can tell folks who want to see some action being taken is that we're moving to put it on the ballot, and there will be a campaign, and they will learn more, and we will answer questions, and they'll have an opportunity to exercise their vote. I have been feeling the sense of urgency this entire year as the chair of the committee, but you know, my goal is to make sure that we are also responsible with how we present this to the public. You know, I don't want to create a false expectation or you know, get folks information that we've got to backtrack on, and so I guess it's more of a under promise over deliver situation. But I think because we have to go to the ballot, we have to be you know, clear with folks and creating certainty and transparency. I don't want to speak ahead of where we are.
Thank you.
A couple other things, 2 very important actions the City Council took this last week that relates to this conversation of public safety is that we took legislative action along with University Health and the Department of Mental Health to get moving on the property that they want to purchase to build the new mental health hospital. It is a $300 million investment from the state of Missouri. It is 200 mental health beds. It is a historic investment and solution to a historic problem that we've been dealing with since governments and communities stepped away from mental health hospitals many, many decades ago. You would obviously understand how this impacts public safety issues, impacts the rehabilitation and detention center conversation, impacts how KCPD polices the community. One direct way that this impacts our jail conversation is that one of the variables we had our forensic analysts take a look at that they did not in 2019 for the jail bed needs assessment was tell us what our mental health need is across the board, from folks who are experiencing substantial mental illness, schizophrenia, bipolar, those types of things, and maybe they shouldn't be in our facility if they're going to be in custody, but should be in a different type of facility if they're going to be in custody. And we were able to get some of that information from the forensic analysts, and it's a scientific number that we can rely on. As we were having conversations with University Health about them constructing their facility, they were receptive to allocating 25 of the beds in this new facility for municipal court detainees, and that was codified in the legislation that we passed this last week as they're moving forward to purchase the property where they're going to build the building from the city. I don't want to understate how important that is for our municipal criminal justice system. It's capacity that we don't have to build into the detention and rehabilitation center, and honestly, we shouldn't be building into that center because these folks are going to be better served at an actual mental health hospital. And it's beds that we just don't currently have for this purpose. And if you talked to the municipal court judges about their experience with defendants and serious mental health issues and how they don't have options, you would very quickly understand the direct need, even at that level, not just at the arrest level. So that was one thing. And then we approved or directed the city manager to work with several homeless service providers for a low barrier shelter, and those two were Hope Faith Ministries and Restart, and so they're going to be moving forward with those two organizations about building low barrier beds, which obviously, again, would be a big pressure release valve for so much of what we're seeing both in the criminal justice system but also just in our neighborhoods. So those were two actions we took last week. And then on a more lighthearted note, I think Chief Graves was talking about this when I came in. We, in the 4th District, hosted our first annual Night Out Against Crime event over in the east side at McCoy Elementary Park. We had, I'd say, well over 100 families who came out and got information about services from various agencies. Thanks to KCPD, we gave away car clubs and gun locks, and thanks to the fire department, we gave away smoke detectors. And so it was a great event. Thank you, Chief Graves, and all the staff that came out. I know it was a busy night with several events, but I know the community really appreciated you being there. And there was a certain photo that was taken of Chief Graves in a KCFD hat, posing in a KCFD fire truck. I heard it's been destroyed. I don't know if the photo exists. Maybe it'll rear its head at some point. I don't know. But
Chief Grundison said.
But we appreciate you all coming out.
He might let me drive one of those someday.
We appreciated you all coming out and contributing to a good event. So that's my update. Thank you all.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilman. Okay, Investigations Bureau, Deputy Chief Niemeyer.
Good morning. I'm going to, before I get started, I think I'll just go back and address the property crimes issues right up front. As I heard the chief speak, and we went to a community meeting this week as well in Metro Patrol, but I would like to just address some of the highlight parts of this past week and actually the past few months. At each board meeting, you've noticed I've brought information on what our property crimes units are doing. Last month, we talked about the search warrant that yielded 34 stolen autos, boxes full of stolen plates. With that always comes the other side where it's weapons, ammunition. I think this month I provided in the board book a picture for the board to see. In relating to a property crime, all of the weapons that were seized and other items that were seized during a search warrant for a property crime. We have seen an uptick. Someone is committing a property crime that turns into a violent crime. We had a homicide that happened in Clay County that was up north. Someone went on Facebook to purchase a Challenger that turned into a carjacking that turned into a homicide. We've had instances where people intervene, where people are breaking into people's cars. The people that are involved in breaking into that car get interrupted, and that turns into them firing shots. We've seen that. We know that's happening. At this recent community meeting, there was a question that came up. What can we do? What can we do as a community? What can we do as a business community? And it was addressed slightly, but I would say this as I sit there and thought about different things. If I owned a Dodge Challenger, if I owned a Kia, I would have an air tag. I would put that in my car. I would know that way I know. where that's at. But it goes back to a lot of the basic things as we read reports or you talk to the sergeants of the property crimes unit. Do the basics. Please take the items out of your car. You know, I just talked to someone the other day and they were like, they left their golf clubs in their car. Well, they can see that. They're going to break your window. They're going to take your golf clubs and then they might take your car as well. Please take your purse, your laptop, all those items out of your car. You know, lock your car, put an air tag on your car. Those kinds of things help the police. If you have a security system, security systems now, we use it in almost every violent crime. We use city cameras, we use people's Ring doorbells, all those kinds of things to assist detectives. So I want to address that group specifically that we went to the meeting in Metro. You will see, and are going to see an outcome for that. We announced it, our sergeant said it. We're very familiar with probably the group that is involved. We know who it is, and we will be arresting them. Not if, when. So it's going to happen. Also today, I haven't turned, but if there are people here to discuss that, Major Cobanall Major Cobanall and Captain Schreiber are in charge of our property crimes unit. If there's anyone here today to discuss property crimes, I had them come down. They're more than happy to step out and have a discussion and give it a little more in-depth than we're going to do right here for the board meeting. But I wanted that to be known, that we're on it. We know who's committing these. And it goes back to the same thing as we had a problem with the Dodge Challengers downtown that were getting stolen. We investigated that, we followed it, we figured it out, and for the most part, we still have a few, but it wasn't like it was happening downtown before. This is the same sort of event. We have a small group of people committing a large amount of crime. So hopefully when we arrest them, and we are going to arrest them, it will stop. So I just want to address that up front. If there's any questions about the meeting or that specific meeting or any property crimes in general, I'm happy to answer those before I give a full presentation about investigations.
Commander, I have a question. Just going back, I want to follow up on what the chief was sharing about juvenile crime. Is this cyclical, for example? Is there any correlation with hopefully juveniles going back to school and slowing the pace of juvenile crime? Is there any history or any sort of anything that shows that you get a bit of a drop, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think you do get a drop in some crime. The crime that we're talking about right here, I don't think going back to school is going to affect it one bit.
I'm talking about the young ones who should be in, like, you know, junior high or middle school.
I agree, but in general, yes. But in the crimes that we're talking about that are being committed with what was happening downtown or the things that were happening in the Metro Patrol Division, these are more than, they're young adults. They're the 17 on the cusp of being an adult at 18. Sometimes we have a group that has some that are juvenile and some that considered an adult because of their age. So, you know, you have that mix of 17 and 18. So I spent almost an hour, and I don't think she would mind me saying, I spent an hour on the phone yesterday with Jean Peters Baker talking about it, and she's like, if any of them are adult, please let me know. Let's work together. She's in contact with the juvenile court as well. So there is movement on this that people do not see or don't know, but we've been working on it, and I think we're making progress. Major Cobanall has done an excellent job. He's our liaison. Not only does he work in the IBO office and run property crimes, but he's the liaison with our courts. So he's making progress with that as well. So I'm hopeful that when we make these arrests that we see a drastic drop in that area. Now, that being said, there's always going to be crime, property crime in nature. We want to see it go down as we did with those Dodge Challengers. We want to see it go down with the Kia stolen autos. We want to see it go down with the violent crime that's associated with it.
I do have a question on the group of people that we're looking at arresting right now. Juveniles, they get arrested, how long are they in for, or what's the typical
Since we don't have them in custody, we know who's who. I'd rather not discuss it
No,
because
no,
we're
no,
out
I'm just saying in
looking for
general.
them as we're sitting here. We're out looking for the folks that we have identified. So
But in general, is there something we can all do together as a community to have a voice, to make sure they get the proper help, to keep them held accountable and, make a difference with the property crimes going down?
sure, I would say, as the chief already said, Major Kobanaw had the meeting, and we're gonna make sure that we do our portion, make sure that we present the proper case file, the proper reports. We've offered if they need ourselves, meaning the police department or detectives or on-scene officers, to come testify for them, to hold a juvenile, we're willing to do that. So, it's gonna take the whole group. I feel better today than I have in a long time about the meetings that he has had with juvenile court. We've had with Gene Peters Baker, that we are involved with to rectify some of the things that probably weren't happening, and there's no blame to be placed anywhere in general. It's a systematic deal, and we're gonna correct it. We're gonna fix it.
Thank you, and we're all here to help support that as well, because we want to see this changing. So, thank you.
Well, my items are gonna be under tab A in your book. But first, I'd like to start off to give you a little background on our Kansas City Regional Fusion Center. The Fusion Centers were created around the country after the events that occurred on 9/11. The goal of the Fusion Centers is to create a shared view of Homeland Security criminal threats within the region. The Fusion Center will then produce and disseminate actionable intelligence in support of all crimes, hazards, and terrorism prevention. The Kansas City Regional Fusion Center, also known as KCRFC, concentrates on international and domestic terrorism, protecting key resources and critical infrastructure, and mitigating threats of any violence involving the potential of mass casualties. The KCRFC covers 9 counties in Kansas and Missouri, encompassing 119 municipalities. In Missouri, we cover Jackson, Clay, Platte, Ray, and Cass counties. In Kansas, we cover Johnson, Leavenworth, Wyandotte, and Miami counties. The KCRFC is responsible for answering all U.S. Department Homeland Security requests, all federal and state requests concerning an active investigation, local requests, and preparing intelligence reports and briefings related to the preparation and prevention of possible terrorism activities. While currently having several open investigations that we obviously cannot discuss today, I want to mention a few highlights and examples of what our detectives have played a major role in assisting cases recently that you might not have known that the Fusion Center played a part in. The most recent and televised on the news, our Fusion Center located an online threat that occurred during the Morgan Wallen concert. They were the first to make an alert that something was wrong. An arrest was eventually made and charges were filed against that individual, and then the concert was able to go on at Arrowhead. The Fusion Center was the one that received an anonymous tip regarding food contamination that occurred at a business in Kansas. They were the ones that then turned that over to our federal partners in the Kansas side to say something is going on, and a suspect was arrested in that case. They identified a suspect who committed hate crimes towards a church on social media, and that person was arrested and charged as well. They've assisted the Independence Police Department in a school threat that resulted in the charging of first-degree terroristic threats against an individual. Our Kansas City Regional Fusion Center teaches nationwide classes. The last was attended by 768 attendees on targeted violence. They continue to complete special threat assessments on all large events in our region. I'd really like to thank Sergeant Updegrove, his detectives. We have regional partners that are in our Fusion Center with us from outside agency who supply detectives to help us as well as our federal partners. Fusion Center is a major asset to our department and our region. They have been extremely beneficial to our department and all of the major events that we've held here in Kansas City. They're a large part of that event. So that is an example. If you have the opportunity to go to our Fusion Center, I would encourage it to see what goes on every day behind the scenes that no one knows is going on to protect our citizens and to protect our region, basically in live and in the moment.
Given all that's going on right now, do you have a sense, is there an increase in activity through the Fusion Center? I'm just thinking about world events now that are spilling out across our country, and there's no reason why some of that can't happen in Kansas City. And are we seeing an uptick, or is it just a continuation of what we've seen?
I think it's fairly continuous. The Patrol Bureau, Investigations Bureau, we work closely with them. They are constantly giving us updates or information or nationwide information. It may not just be here, but we get nationwide information because all the Fusion Centers are connected and talking. So we get intelligence updates from them regularly. I would say just about at least weekly, if not daily sometimes.
Commander, is that a partnership between the regional organizations, or is that predominantly us taking the lead and then communicating with other law enforcement agencies?
We have regional partners that are in there with us. We actually have a sergeant, though, that kind of runs the team. So we have regional partners and we have federal partners there, too. Okay, the item in front of you is the blue sheet. In 2024, we've had 96 homicides to this point, compared to 127 at the same time last year. In 2024, we have cleared 45 of those homicides and 16 from previous year's totals for a total of 61 cases, which is a 64% solved or cleared rate. In July, we had 11 homicides. 6 of those cases had identified suspects. 3 of those cases were cleared by arrest. 3 were solved, but have not yet been cleared, and 5 are still open and under investigation. To break it down by patrol division, Center Zone had 2 homicides, Metro had 3, East Patrol 4, North Zone had 1, South Patrol had 0, and Shoal Creek Patrol Division had 1. Moving on to our non-fatal shooting comparison report. This is from January 1 to August 15th. We had 387 non-fatal shootings for the year. This is in comparison to 314 victims for the same time last year in 2023. That is a 23% increase. In July, we had 58 non-fatal shootings compared to 51 of July of 2023, which is a 14% increase. And it's not on your screen, but I wanted to add that so far in August, we have had 24 non-fatal shootings as of August 15th. During the month of July, we submitted a total of 322 cases to the county prosecutors, 263 cases to Jackson County, 43 cases to Clay County, and 16 cases to Platte County, with 0 cases to Cass County. And a question came up a few board meetings ago about canines and canines. We have patrol canines, but we also have canines that work within our drug unit and our special investigations unit. And I wanted to highlight them because obviously they are not necessarily seen often because they kind of work behind the scenes in the special investigations division. So I wanted to give a little kudos to their work, and I think the numbers will speak for themselves. But this is Canine Zeus. Canine Zeus is a 5-year-old German Shepherd and is trained and certified on the detection of marijuana, cocaine, meth, and heroin. Each year, these dogs have to be certified, and Zeus was last certified on March the 13th by the National Police Canine Association. This is Canine Amour, 5-year-old German Shepherd, trained and certified in the same odors. Canine Amour was last certified January the 15th of this year by the National Police Canine Association. And you can see that's a very big seizure of marijuana. Canine Dago, I have a hard time saying his name, and I even talked to his handler, or I didn't, but Pam talked to his handler so I could say it correctly. Canine Dagoro is an 8-year-old German Shepherd and is trained in the same odors and was just certified on May 1 of 2024. As you can see, there's U.S. currency there, and there's a large amount of narcotics. I'm going to read these numbers, and these are the lifetime numbers of these dogs. So over the course of their lifetime, their handlers keep track of their seizures, and that has a lot to do with them going to court and other items. But these 3 dogs together have seized 17,219 pounds of marijuana, 2,873 pounds of THC, 1,159 pounds of methamphetamines, 2,456 ecstasy tablets, 256 pounds of cocaine, 71 pounds of heroin, 6,118 pounds of fentanyl, 538,178 fentanyl tablets, 19 gallons of PCP, and almost $3.5 million in currency. So I would say those 3 canines right there is worth their weight in gold. And having worked in that unit myself for 6 years, they are amazing animals. We couldn't do the job that we do without them. So not only thank you to the canines themselves, but their handlers, the detectives that go along with that. And there's a lot of work that goes into being a canine handler, so I want to thank them today. And with that concludes my report, unless you have any other questions.
Wanted to say thank you for sharing that about the canines. I know I was talking to, I believe it was Canine Zeus's handler, and last year I think him alone took like $2.5 million off the street in street drugs as far as the value. So, like you said, they are invaluable, and we know drugs is a huge problem, but with what these dogs do, that's just amazing, and really, how they help the police department. And I know the foundation as well, the police foundation, has helped get us some great dogs as well, and appreciate everything that they do, and then our individuals out there that help give us these canines and support that. That's a huge help for us. So just want to thank everybody in those departments. Any questions? No? Okay. Patrol Bureau, Deputy Chief Maben.
Good morning, Commissioners. My information is under tab B in your books, or you can follow along on your screens. We'll begin with notable events. The Police Athletic League had a total of 1,297 visits for the month, along with 18 new enrollments. The daily average number of visits was 71. And on July 20th, the PAL boxing team hosted the Battle in the Northeast 2. That's their second boxing event of the year. This event showcased 11 bouts featuring fighters from several gyms in the metro area. 3 of these bouts involved PAL athletes making their boxing debut. And the main event of the evening featured Kevin, our very own undefeated PAL boxer. Kevin won his match in dramatic fashion, earning a belt for the fight of the night. The Police Athletic League was also selected to be a recipient of KSHB 41 news anchor Kevin Holmes' Gift of Soul campaign. This nonprofit program provided a new pair of shoes to 110 PAL kids. The new shoes are a frequently requested item of clothing, especially during this time of year with back to school. So this donation was very impactful for these kids. Last month, you may recall I reported on the Teens in Transition program. that's hosted by our Youth Services Unit and Arts Tech. Although it's technically outside of the reporting period, I wanted to announce that just a couple weeks ago, we had 25 teens graduate from the program. And as a reminder, the program basically is our school resource officers identify teens at risk for exposure to violent crime. And then the youth will earn a stipend as they go through the program, which usually is about 10 weeks in the summer. And it focuses on teaching life skills, conflict resolution, anger management, team building, things of this nature. We've been doing it for several years, and it's a very impactful program. Our K-9 section conducted demonstrations for the Westside Can Center and Riverside Junior Police Academy during the reporting period. They also assisted with the air show at Whiteman Air Force Base. And on July 6th, K-9 Rocks helped to apprehend a driver of a stolen auto. On July 10th, K-9 Carlo assisted with the apprehension of a party with felony warrants who fled on foot from officers. And in all, K-9 section responded to 73 calls for service and had 22 deployments during the month. Moving on to our bomb and arson section. They participated in a tabletop training exercise at Arrowhead Stadium and hosted training for the Kansas-Missouri Regional Bomb Tech Working Group. They also provided static displays at several community events to include the West Side Back to School Pep Rally, the annual Public Health and Safety Fair, and a robotics camp at Notre Dame de Sion High School. Bomb and arson also responded to 5 fire-related events and 11 bomb call events. Investigations are still ongoing for these incidents. Looking at response times, the median response time during the month of July for priority 1 calls was 8 minutes and 32 seconds. This is a 6-second decrease compared to June. The median response time for priority 2 calls was approximately 11 minutes and 25 seconds. This is an 11-second increase compared to June. Moving on to our traffic report. From January 1 to July 31, there were a total of 10,268 crashes citywide. This is about a 5% decrease from the same period last year. There were 6 fatality crashes during the month of July. One of these fatalities was a hit and run, and the case is unsolved. 3 of the crashes have been solved, and the remaining 2 were exceptionally cleared with the death of the offender. From the beginning of the year through the end of July, there were a total of 55 people killed in accidents. Compared to the end of July in 2023, where there had been 51 people killed. So in all, it's about an 8% increase in fatality accidents. The DUI section conducted 9 Wolfpack operations in July with a combined total of 98 traffic stops. They issued 110 tickets and made 34 DUI arrests. There were an additional 51 DUI arrests not associated with Wolfpacks during the month, bringing the department total to 85 in July. And in total, the department issued 5,441 traffic citations during the month. This is a 7.5% increase over the previous month and a 45% increase over July 2023. That concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Well, maybe just quickly, that's a significant jump, 45% year over
Yes.
day. So what do you attribute to that significant change?
One of the things is our traffic division is, as you know, extremely busy with other events that they have to do. They get called out to crime scenes. They also have to do all the special events and runs, sporting events, things of this nature. But given the fact that we've had so many fatality accidents, we also need to concentrate on one of our core missions, and that's traffic enforcement. And so we have made a concerted effort to conduct call downs, to enforce speeding operations. And so they're trying to be creative on that front to get time to get out and do enforcement operations. So, I mean, it's a directed effort to increase operations.
was intentional.
Correct. And I'd be, I don't want to neglect mentioning our street racing operations. We know that it is a scourge of the city, so we have stepped up our enforcement in that area too. We just had one a couple weeks ago, and as you're aware, unfortunately, we had some rain that evening, so didn't get as much enforcement as we would like, but we have other ones scheduled, and we'll make sure that all the commissioners are aware if you want to come out and check that out. We'll also have the media riding along a lot of times on these, just to bring more awareness and to show that we're doing. We're working well with the city, as the chief mentioned, on maybe some legislative items that might give us some more tools and some environmental issues, parking, milling up streets where people do frequent burnouts, things of this nature to make it less attractive for certain areas. Thank you.
Okay, the Administration Bureau with Acting Deputy Chief Haley.
Good morning, Commissioners. The Administration Bureau information is under tab C. As of July 31st, our law enforcement strength was 1,083 personnel. We also had 40 police officer candidates and 523 professional staff. In terms of law enforcement hiring, we have 56 candidates in the process of possible eligibility for hiring. We have 11 pending candidates for the 183rd class. 2 of those candidates have already started working with us, and I believe they're assigned to PAL. That class will start September 16th. In addition, we currently have 25 laterals and rehires in various stages of the hiring process. You may note that last month I said I believe we had 25 also. That's not a stagnant number. We're hiring people and we're replacing people. It just happened to hit 25 again, but we have a high turn in terms of putting people to work, the laterals and rehires. Looking at the communication hiring numbers, we hired 2 new members and have 10 members in the process for possible eligibility for hiring and 2 members pending job offers. Law enforcement testing dates upcoming, August 28th, which is next Wednesday, I believe. It appears we're going to hit another record. That's a midweek day. We already have 40 signed up for this testing. That's incredible when you think about that's midweek. We expect a higher number on the weekends, but to have that number, they've really got out. The employment unit has done an excellent job of getting people out, contacting people, making partnerships to get these type of numbers, especially during the middle of the weekend. I just want to comment on that for them. Additional testing dates, September 26th and October 19th. In case anyone's forgotten, we are still hiring. Please come and check us out. Go to kcpd.org/careers. We have any job, all kinds of jobs. If you do it, we probably have a job for you. We're currently hiring in parking control officers, auto mechanics. We need some auto mechanics. Please think about it. Patrol desk clerks, call takers, and dispatchers. We are still hiring. These are some of the upcoming recruitment events. September 5th, UMKC, September 18th, Graceland University, September 25th, QC Career Expo and Graduate School Fair. I know just this weekend, we're at Southeast Community Center doing a hiring fair as well, talking with the employment unit and some of the recruiters. At the T-Mobile Center, they've been doing pretty well getting people to engage them looking for jobs. I believe that was last week, they had a hiring event at T-Mobile, and they said they had over 2.5 pages of people sign up, and most of the interests were for professional staff positions, which is incredible. But a lot of times, a lot of our interest is with law enforcement, but for some reason that night, it was all about the professional staff, so they're doing a wonderful job as well. This is one of the comments from one of our local partners. We partner with high schools and universities, as you know. This is coming out of Park University, Dr. Carmen Nadi. She recently, I think last month, she even attended one of our police agilities testing events. That goes with our testing for law enforcement officer. And she made this comment. I thought it was a nice compliment that, hey, the KCPD and the recruiters are really working hard to foster that relationship there. Officer Sutton, she's assigned specifically to Park University. She takes the lead on that to facilitate that relationship. But that was just a shout out from the professor to the KCPD and the work that we're doing to grow that relationship with our local universities and high schools. So, thank you. Thanks, Sutton. Talking about partnerships, this slide is in regard to the wellness unit. The wellness unit is also working on local partnerships, whether that be with local businesses, whether that's with the community, whether it's with volunteers. Having a conversation recently with some of our chaplains that's just come under the wellness umbrella. They're looking to do more, and we're finding ways for them to do more. We're having those discussions. And I think it's a good place to be when you look at it in terms of these are volunteers. They're not getting paid for this, but they want to do more to support the members of the KCPD because they believe in what we're doing. So I think we're doing some good work and making some good connections. We're going to make sure to come up with more things for the chaplains since they've put that request out there. Well, I guess that pretty much concludes my presentation, unless you have any questions for me.
Maybe just one follow-up. So 25 laterals this month. We had 25 last month. Tell us a little bit about what that onboarding looks like. How much time does it take to cycle through once we get an interested candidate getting this one?
I believe Captain Pinkerton is here. You want to take that? Sure. I'll share some love.
Laterals they actually go through the exact same process as our academy recruits. The only thing they don't have to do is take the written exam. So when it comes to scheduling, psych, medical, there are some things that do kind of just slow them down. So it can go into between 30, 60 days, but there are just some variables like they need to slow play it on their end for certain reasons, and that happens. So some go pretty fast, some don't go as fast. The process
That 30 to 60 day process. So,
ish, yeah. But I mean, like I said, there's those variables that they're out of my unit's control. Sometimes we get a little backlogged in psych or something like that, or they just can't, they're on vacation. They can't schedule the appointment until, X amount of days out. So there's not really an exact number that I can say. I'd give you a ballpark though.
No, I was just looking for a general cadence. I mean, it's very encouraging to hear the interest from laterals that want to move over to our department. So I'm sure we're onboarding in a good cadence there.
Yeah, our onboarding of laterals and rehires is going very well. We, like I said, we're at 25 last month, 25 this month, because we dropped a few that didn't make it through our process, but we picked up a few that started the process. So that's how that number can kind of dance around a little like that. But we should be, we started 3 last month, we started 1 yesterday, and we should have got another handful that should be ready to go next week. So the 25 number will be coming down because we're going to be actually getting them started. So it's
Another month. Let's not.
Yeah.
That's a good. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
And I'd just like to say that Captain Pinkerton, when it comes to laterals, is doing an incredible job. He's been a main push for our laterals. I'm not sure how he's doing and how he's getting so many to come through the door. We think that he's calling every police officer from a surrounding jurisdiction that he's ever met and having conversations with them. But he's doing an excellent job pushing the laterals. So thank you very much, Captain Pinkerton.
It's a secret sauce. I can't give the recipe.
Okay, just keep it. That's a good thing. Okay. Any more questions? That's it? Executive Services Bureau, Deputy Chief McCollum.
Good morning, Commissioners. All items of the Executive Services Bureau are under tab D of your board book. Item A, budget transfers for fiscal year 2024-25. I request the following appropriations be transferred within the Police Grants Fund. The Police Grants Fund moves $480 from contractual services to commodities and $3,500 from capital outlay to personal services. The Police Grants Fund transfers adjust appropriations to where they are needed now compared to when they were estimated in the fall of 2023 as the budget was being put together. Unless you have any questions, I recommend approval.
Move to approve the transfer.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item B, Kansas City Streetcar Authority, MOU. The department recently received a memorandum of understanding from the Kansas City Streetcar Authority for $550,248. The MOU is for 2 years with funding to pay salary and benefits for one full-time police officer, plus overtime to assist the KCSA in preserving the peace, preventing crime, arresting offenders, and protecting the safety and welfare of KCSA staff and citizens on or about KCSA property and stop areas. This MOU will also provide for the cost of purchasing one or more police vehicles equipped and identified in the same manner as other KCPD patrol vehicles to use by the assigned officers. This is the first year for this agreement and funding. Unless you have any questions, I recommend approval.
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion's approved.
Item C, acceptance of the Midwest High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Investigative Support Center Grant Agreement. The department recently received a notification of the fiscal year 2024 Midwest High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Investigative Support Center Award for $418,408 for the period beginning January 1st, 2024 and ending December 31st, 2025. This program provides funding for salary and benefits for one detective, a civilian supervisor, and 2 civilian support staff. This agreement also provides additional funding for vehicle, fuel, and travel expenses. This is the 27th year for this award and is 100% federally funded. Unless you have any questions, I request your approval to accept this award.
I move approval.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved.
Item D, 2024 Combat Jackson County Drug Tax Unit Agreement. The department recently received notification of the fiscal year 2024 Jackson County, Missouri Community-Backed Anti-Drug Tax Award. The Jackson County Anti-Drug Tax is funded through the Combat Commission and provides funding for sworn and non-sworn personnel assigned to the Special Investigations Division, the Kansas City Police Crime Lab, and the Community Engagement Division, along with operating expenses and minor equipment. The award is in the amount of $3,421,616, beginning January 1st, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2024. This is the 8th year for this award, so unless you have any questions, I recommend acceptance.
I move approval.
Second.
Any questions?
I do have one question about the timing. So we're in August and it's from January through December. So how does that shake out?
Right. What we do is it's all based on when Jackson County, I guess, allots the funds for us. So what we do is we will bill them going back to January.
So in arrears, sort of.
Correct. The city fronts us the money and then we
Okay.
backfill with the grants.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved.
Unless you have any questions, that concludes my report.
Maybe just one follow-up question. Last month, we talked about a report that we're expecting from Mark, I believe, that commissioned a study on communications. Is there any update on their process and how that's moving?
It's my understanding in communications with Jackson County and Mark, as you know, Jackson County legislators funded the study and the contract was made with Mark. They want to roll this out and present it to the impacted police chiefs and sheriffs before they go public with it. And if they were to present here today, it would be a public, I guess, forum. So we do expect them to be prepared to present to the board
So there
what
is
they're
a,
telling
there is
me.
a process to get with the chiefs first, and then we'll be able to.
We're in the process of scheduling those right now, yes.
Thanks for the update.
Okay, Chief's Office, Executive Officer.
Morning. We have the updated aerobics program policy for you today. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I recommend approval.
Go ahead, John.
I move for approval. Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion's been approved.
Thank you.
Office of General Counsel.
Good morning. My report will be in closed session this morning.
And Merrill is not presenting today. Public comments.
John Murphy.
Right over here. And then you'll have 2 minutes, John, on the clock.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Murphy. I'm a resident of Kansas City, Missouri. I live in the Brookside area. I'm an elected board member of the Armor Fields Homes Association. We represent 788 homeowners. We have been plagued in our area with property crimes that we feel are morphing into something much more dangerous. Last week, on August 15th, I attended the Brookside Waldo meeting that was held at Research. Myself and 300 residents of Brookside Waldo attended there, and we were somewhat dissatisfied with the meeting. To find out 2/3 of the way through the meeting that a number of these guys who've been breaking into cars and shooting up the neighborhood are known to the police. And to find out that 2/3 of the meeting that the police know who they are, they've been to their homes, and they've talked to their mothers. And these guys are still out in the streets. I know it's hard, but these guys need to be off the streets and off the streets fast before it gets worse. Since that meeting, I've been getting texts from all over South Kansas City, from Verona Hills. I got a video from a family whose house was shot up, and there are bullet holes in their baby's room. I got a text on Saturday at 3:30 from Waldo, from the Waldo people, outside the back door of Bobby Baker's, which is a bar. People were there having hamburgers and watching the game, when somebody said, hey, there's guys trying to break into the cars in the parking lot. Folks in the bar rushed out, only met by a group of thugs in a car brandishing long rifles saying, hey, MFers, do you want to die? They all ran back into the bar. This is not good. This is bad, and the general consensus of the meeting was not very good. So, one, we need these guys off the street as fast as possible, and I understand that they're juveniles. The juvenile laws in this state are very weak. I never looked at them before. I looked at them last week. And I don't know who in the police department, if you've talked to anybody in Jeff City or any of these board of commissioners have talked to Jeff City, but I'm going to talk to Jeff City this week. And those laws need to change. What we do with them, somebody else, they've got to be off the streets. And that's it. Any questions, concerns? That's it. Thank you.
Doug Winter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you all for your service to our community. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Chief Graves, for your accessibility and communication. My name is Doug Winter. I usually don't read from a sheet, but I want to try to stay in with this 2-minute window. My name is Doug Winter. I'm the VP of Operations for the company that operates Parlor at 17th and Locust. My neighboring business owners and I are very concerned about the effects of crime has had on in the area. Parlor itself is down 20% versus the same year last year. That equates to about $40,000 for the city in sales tax. Break-ins and car thefts are happening at an alarming rate. I've had my personal vehicle broken into in the middle of the day. Items stolen were including my handgun. Team members, guests, and other business owners are experiencing the same thing. These crimes seem to be happening daily without any regard for the time of day. The office I was working in on Grand Avenue had the window shot out at 7 p.m. in the evening. We were forced to close a bar we operate on Grand Avenue due to bullets coming through the window on a Saturday evening. The team members did not feel comfortable coming back to work. That bar is still closed. I heard shots while I was at Mercy Seat Tattoo at 16th and Grand. A person was shot and died 30 feet from where I was sitting. I was driving to work, and I guess I had done something to upset another driver. The driver met me at a four-way stop and pointed a handgun at me from his vehicle. I took off towards the highway and was on hold for 5 minutes with 911. I just hung up. Last week, while I was speaking with the city manager regarding my experiences, a Parlor guest car was broken into at 2:30 across the street from Parlor at the dance studio. That guest will never be back. That guest will share his experiences with his family and friends that will never visit the Crossroads. 2 weeks ago, my general manager attempted to stop a car theft in our parking lot. Then the subject attempted to run him down on the sidewalk. Events like these are seriously affecting businesses and the city. I understand that there are many challenges to solving this issue. I usually don't bring up an issue unless I have a solution. I don't. I just want to know that there is a plan to address these. Business will be leaving Crossroads and the city, and the revenue will go down as it already has. So that's all I have to say. So appreciate your time.
Kevin Klinkenberg.
Good morning. Kevin Klinkenberg. I'm at 3772 Mercier Street in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm also the executive director of Midtown KC Now in the Midtown area, and we manage 3 community improvement districts in the Midtown area: Main Street, Broadway, and Wagon Trails on Westport Road. I would like to reiterate a little bit of what the previous gentleman said. That I would tell you from my experience, the conversations that people are having that they don't talk about publicly is that we have an emergency situation in this city. And what I would like to urge all of you, including the commissioners especially, other elected officials, to do is to actually treat this like an emergency situation. I don't think monthly meetings are good enough at this point. If we have another summer or two like this summer has been, there will not be a tax base left in this city. People are going to leave. People are already leaving. The frustration level is enormous, especially among a lot of our business owners, but also with our residents. And I just don't think we can wait another 5 years for a jail. We've got to put our heads together and figure out what we can do now and over the next year to deal with our lack of detention facilities. It's really hurting all of us. And I don't know what creative ideas are out there. I'm sure there are a lot of people with smart ideas, but we've got to figure something else out. We are all for the new jail. That's fantastic. Let's get it done. But that's like 5 years from now. We can't wait 5 years for that. There will not be a business community left in this town. So my suggestion and my hope is that we can all treat this with a greater sense of urgency. One last little comment, just to have more of an operational thing that I have a question about. I am coming on about 5 years in this job. We have a new major of Central Patrol starting. We've had great relationships with KCPD and really enjoy working with the officers and everybody else. This will be the 4th major that I have worked with in 5 years. And I don't understand how to run a police department. I don't know anything about it. But from a community standpoint, the lack of continuity gets frustrating. And Major Hernandez was our previous major. Loved Tim Hernandez. He was great. We enjoyed working with him. Major Simons before that, other majors. So I don't know how much of an impact that sort of revolving door has with moving people around. I understand you have to move people around and you're trying to train people to do different things, but there's a lack of continuity from the community standpoint that I feel like has to play a part, in our officers and others, knowing who the good people are and who the bad people are, neighborhood by neighborhood. So I don't know how to address all that. Again, like the gentleman said, I usually like to propose a solution. I don't have a solution. But I just want to express a little frustration from that standpoint that we would love to see more continuity and really get to know all of our officers that are working in our area on a first name basis and have that relationship for a number of years. Thank you all.
Thank you. Stan Hurt? Come on up. And Ron Hunt.
First of all, those gentlemen, they're correct. And I want to get this off the way really quick. I want to thank the officers, you know, of course, Major Corey, Major Chris Young, who's in East Patrol, Deputy Chief, all of you guys. You played, we really, really, really appreciate it. Chief was out there on Prospect with us last week. I have somewhat of a solution. You know, I visited New York previously, and our city's not on the level as New York, but I got a chance to see some of the cameras, how their surveillance thing. I just wiggled in there a little bit. But I think updating our technology with that, and also getting the officers who come out of the academy. In New York, they do a lot of foot patrol. They do a lot of foot patrol. See, and this man is right. I know all the officers that I kind of work with on a crime level, on Prospect. And again, Chief, you guys, Deputy Chief, they're doing a great job. The community diversity thing, doing a great job. But I'm suggesting that the academy, those officers get out of the academy, they're doing ride-alongs. They can do some foot patrol. And that would, I think that would be part of the training process, because they need to get out there. And it's a difference when you walk versus riding. And I know we have a shortage of police officers. The jail. I talked to Raina Park Shaw. We talked about the jail over next door, opening that up as a temporary thing. She's willing to give some money for you guys to do that. I was in a meeting. Major Chris Young is listening. He was in that meeting. Also, she was willing to buy the 5 cameras that they used in New York. That would really be a start. You know, the guys in other communities, we're getting polarized too. And it's a shortage of police officers. My daughter's mother, I just emailed a Major. My daughter's mother, for the second day in a row, somebody tried to steal her car. She lives over in West Bluff. Yesterday and today, I mean, they just took it off, and she has it on camera. And if you ever been to West Bluff, it's a one-way in, one-way out. These young people are carrying guns bigger than they are. I mean, and it's really serious, and people are really scared, Chief. And I know you guys' hands are tied, but I think the city wants to step in. I'm willing to support you guys in terms of whatever you need, in terms of the cameras. I was in a meeting, and Raina Park Shaw told me they're going to open that, put your money to redo that jail. And that's a start. Maybe we need to open up that county jail over there. We need somewhere to put these people, because it's just that serious. People who don't supposed to carry guns, they're carrying guns because they're afraid. Everybody wants to protect their property. So I'm going to say this in closing. We appreciate you, what you're doing on Prospect, you know, but the whole city is being polarized by these property crimes. And that's what, you know, I forgot we had a board meeting today, but I'm dealing with my daughter's mother. I have to take my 9-year-old daughter and move her with me because of this theft problem over there. These guys have guns, and I'm thinking about my daughter over there. So we appreciate you. We got a lot of work to do. I'm with you guys. I support you. I'm hollering at city council people. I'm really hollering at them. And they're willing to do something. Everybody wants to do something. So great job. I'm talking about all of you. If I didn't call your name, I appreciate all of you, because we're all tired of it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ron.
That's it.
And I just want to thank everybody today as well for coming and, you know, letting us know what's happening in your community, because we are working very hard and we do hear you. And we are trying to make a difference, and it does take a community, and it does take all of us, so. Chief, any comments on any of that? Okay.
No, just specifically with regard to downtown, this month we added 2 more officers to our downtown foot beat and a sergeant. We're hoping that's going to play a part in some of the downtown River Market, crossroads, some of the foot traffic in and around the breaking into cars. And we're working on other solutions. And just like Deputy Chief Niemeyer said earlier, we are making really good progress in some of the cases of the groups that are out committing some of these crimes in our city. And it's an urgency, a feeling of urgency for us as well.
Yes, and I know we are still way understaffed, so anybody who's looking for a job, keep them coming, and recruits, it all helps, so thank you all. Need an approval of open session minutes for July?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's been approved. David, any comments?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. I don't know if we have the mayor. We do have the mayor with us. Mayor, would you like to make any comments? Yes.
Okay, I think I will just first of all recognize and thank the many public commenters who came out today. It is appreciated. Thank you, Chief, for the comment as to the crisis that we have both on property crime issues, I think other street crime issues. We are hearing about it from just about every neighborhood in Kansas City. Deputy Chief Niemeyer noted earlier some good leads on some of our property crimes issues. We hope to learn more in the days and weeks ahead. I know that's what people will expect. I will also note part of the reason that we keep introducing new legislation at City Hall is that we're there to help as much as possible. I heard Deputy Chief Maben, for example, mention some of the traffic issues, redeployment, having good results for our folks. This is why we bring up things like speed cameras, red light cameras, everything under the sun, so that we can, to the extent available, free up people and resources. I think we all recognize, and I'll say this to the public, that all of these problems are urgent. They can't necessarily wait a year, 2 years, or anything under the sun. And I, of course, will work with this board to make sure we continue to address it. That's all I have for now. Thank you all for being there today.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, Commissioner Ed Elders.
No comments.
Commissioner Tom Whitaker.
Nothing more today, thank you.
Commissioner Madeline Romius.
Couple of comments. I too want to echo the mayor's comments. I really thank the people who took the time to come and provide public comment today. I thought that was pretty valuable, so I want to thank you for that. I thought that was very informative. Commander Niemeyer, I'm going to take you up on that Fusion Center offer. I'd like to know more about that. So, great meeting. Thank you all.
And I'd just like to thank you all as well, and I know we're working really hard together. Appreciate that, and appreciate the community being here and getting involved as well. Anything else, David? Just motion to go into closed?
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call? Aye.
Whitaker, aye.
Elder, aye.
Romius, aye.
Kramer, aye. Moving into close.